You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We are joined by Neil Adler from inside the Loud House. We've gone over the returning players and the new players. Let's just talk about the roster in general now. Just an open conversation, open floor, all right?
Sure.
What do you think is the biggest strength?
Yeah. Well, just for 5 seconds, I'll just tell you that I agree with you about Elijah. He's a great shooter. He's worked his butt off to keep improving on defense, ball handling, decision making, and he's just a really nice kid. So I'm rooting for him personally. With that being said, the roster. What's that?
We got to see the celebration. We got to see that celebration from him. He didn't break it out in the preseason.
Yeah, no, he's just a good kid. He's just a really good young man.
I get it. I'm not disagreeing with you on the good kid part. Yeah. I'm just saying I was hoping for the whatever. They kept teasing at the broadcast that he has some sort of celebration that he does after he hits a three or whatever. And I was like, well, where is it? Like,
where is it? Yeah.
I guess it was just the exhibition didn't rile him up enough. Whatever.
Yeah.
All right. So what's the biggest strength in your opinion on the team?
Sure. Well, it's interesting. Just like last year, ahead of the season, Coach Autry, in his first year was talking about the depth and versatility of the roster. And now obviously they got hampered some by Westry not playing at all, Naheem going down after 14 games. Benny Williams obviously got dismissed from the program in this past February. And then some other guys missed games here and there. So their depth did get tested. And that could certainly happen this year as well. But I do think that the depth and just kind of the ability for Coach Autry and his great staff to employ different lineup combinations, have different guys out there, and when reserves come in, like they can still ball. I think personally, and you've got. I mean, we were talking about who's going to be the backup point guard, with Westry, you're not sure what's going to happen with him. So, but I do think they have a deep backcourt. I think they've got multiple guys, both at small and power forward that can do well. And I think they're, they've got the center spot again, assuming Eddie's doing his thing and stays out of foul trouble and Naheem's fully healthy. I mean, I just think they've got nice pieces at every position. So I like that. I think they've got obviously some dudes that can stroke it from deep and certainly basketball at the high school, college, pro level is a lot of, shooting threes. Chris Bell's going to get his, like you said, if Elijah Chopamore, is in there and he hit 4 in the second exhibition, I think. And I don't think he is the type of player, even though he's an incoming freshman and maybe his minutes would be limited, but he's not a cocky guy, but he's got confidence. He's got some swag.
Be confident. You're supposed to be.
There's nothing wrong. So my thinking is with that, even if let's say he gets in tomorrow or in some of these early games where, hopefully Syracuse is blowing out its competition. We'll see about Colgate, but no
more Colgate scares.
He'll shoot it with confidence, even if he'll keep shooting. So I think he can. Freshman, it's always tough if you're playing limited minutes. We'll see how he does. But I think Donnie Freeman can shoot it. I think Eddie Lampkin can hit it a little bit from back there. I think Lucas Taylor, Jair. I mean, I don't think there's – and then obviously, I forgot about J.J. Starling. But obviously, besides Chris Bell and then, like, second half of last season, J.J. Starling, there aren't, like, a lot of proven commodities in terms of hitting reliable three-point shooting at Syracuse because a lot of these guys were at other schools. I mean, I think Carlos hit 34% from deep last year.
Yeah, but he was at Hofstra, yeah.
Right. Like and I think Lucas Taylor hit around 35%. So
35% at Georgia State, but in a limited sample at Wake Forest the year before, he was at 40%, but it was a super limited sample.
Sure, of course. So again, so I think the potential for being pretty good from three is there. I don't want to see them like over rely on threes like a couple years ago when the Boeheim brothers are there. I just think I want to see them. They've got a deep team. They've got a lot of athletic guys. I want to see them press. I want to see them force turnovers. I want to see them get out in transition when they're in their half court offense. I'd really like to see them have a lot of crisp ball movement, have screens, pick and roll, like movement, not just ISO ball. ISO ball drives me nuts. And so we'll forget about prior seasons. And I feel like with Carlos running the point, we're going to get some nice action going on. And again, Eddie is a really good passer out of the center spot. And I think he can score some in the paint, but I think when he gets the ball in the paint, especially because he's pretty physical, if he gets doubled, like he'll find open shooters. So, we'll see how much paint scoring they get. I think it will be a solid part of their repertoire. And I think 3-point, I don't think they're going to have an issue scoring. Obviously when they start playing tougher opponents in the non-conference like Texas and Tennessee, and then obviously ACC teams, we'll see what happens. But I think 3-point shooting could be a strength. I think just, again, depth at every position and not having a lot of drop off between starters and reserves, I think is a strength. Again, we'll see how much they're doing inside in the paint in terms of paint scoring, but I think they have an athletic team and they can force a lot of turnovers and get a lot of transition buckets as well. Yeah.
So I'm pretty much with you on this. I have a strength, balanced scoring, deeper team in general. I just think they have more guys who can play. That's about as blunt as I can put it. They got more guys on this roster who can play compared to last season. I think last season you can argue they had maybe a tad more top end talent. They don't have the scorer like a Judah Mintz. Like they don't have that on this year's roster, but they got more players. They just got more. They got more that can play. So I think it's a much deeper team. I think the potential to be a really good shooting team is certainly there. There is a weakness right here, though. I mean, or not a weakness, more like a question mark to me.
Defense or rebounding?
I don't think it's rebounding. I think it's just
defense.
I think they're good on the. I think they're going to be good on the glass. I think Eddie Lampkin's a good rebounder. Donnie Freeman should be able to rebound. You got Jair Davis, who was a really good rebounder there.
They've got long guards.
He can rebound. They can rebound. I mean, they got the personnel now where I think they have the height, they have the strength to where they can be a good rebounding team, which they have not been in so long. It's been forever since they were a good rebounding team.
Right.
I'm not worried about their rebounding because I think they can be pretty good. It's just their defense in general. I look at their roster right now. Jaquan Carlos was an all-conference defender, albeit he's a small guard.
He is. He's 6 foot.
I mean, yes, you want him to be a good defender, but it's like that's not the most important position to be an elite defender. You need to be elite, especially on the wings and inside. So, I mean, Donnie Freeman, I think, is a good defender, but he's coming from high school. Sure. And then outside of that, does this team have enough stoppers on them? Or are we just going to get into games where it's 85-80 every single night?
Yeah, it's a great point, Jackson, and I think time will tell. Yeah, I mean, it will be interesting, and obviously they're going to play a lot more man, I would assume, than zone. They've got some athletes. They've got some guys that have obviously height and length and are physically strong at both in the backcourt and the front court. But yeah, I think I don't know if it's a weakness per se. I think it's a question mark. Is that the right phrase? I feel like.
Well, I mean, people are going to look at on today's show and see strengths and weaknesses. Yeah. I'm not going to put strengths and questions. That just doesn't sound right. It doesn't.
I just think it's not a strength until we see it become a strength. That's the way I would put it. So, and they did give up 71 or 72 points in that first exhibition to Clarion. So
yeah, I know, but then they cleaned it up in the second exhibition game. They did. You can't take too much away from that. Like
totally.
It's like, okay,
I totally agree. So yeah, no, I agree. I think defensively, guarding guys, how are they going to do with their perimeter defense, rebounding, getting out in transition? Yeah, I think those are things that I will definitely be curious and be monitoring. Absolutely. Yeah.